Welcome back to the It's Too Easy podcast. I'm Zach. This is my brother Jake, ready for a little bit of college football as we dive into the championship games and then week 14 for the NFL. Jake, kick us off. Where we starting?
Yeah, so CFB got conference championship games this week. Really looking forward to it. Got four big games, and then I have another game on that slate that I've added. So we'll start with that one. We got North Texas and Tulane. It's going to be a super fun game. I think it's the AAC or maybe a different one. Regardless, really looking forward to this game. Tulane, I believe, is 2 losses, and North Texas is 1. So this is going to be a super fun game. I haven't seen much from Texas over the last however many years. But this year they are really good. I looked into some of the stats, watched some of their games this year. They've been a really impressive team. And they're 2.5-point favorites in this one. I believe it's at a neutral field. And just judging on the stats and kind of what I've seen so far this year, I feel like North Texas is going to have a little bit of an easier way on the offensive side of the ball. So I'm going to stick with North Texas minus 2.5 in this game. Not too much to it. I just think their offense, their quarterback play is going to be a little bit better. Retzlaff is good on the ground, but I think he'll likely struggle running the ball a little bit in this game. I know he's Tulane's top rusher, so if North Texas is able to stop him from getting the ball going on the ground, they'll be kind of stuck just throwing the ball. And I think North Texas is going to be a little bit better at the balancing act of this game. So I'm going to take North Texas minus 2.5, and we'll see what happens.
I'm probably going to go North Texas too. Tulane hasn't been super impressive this year yet, 9-2, I believe. My question for you would be: if they get to 12-1, do they get thrown into the college football playoff?
Well, I believe there are 2 spots that are reserved for conference champions, if I'm not mistaken. At least that's what it looked like on Tuesday when they released the rankings. So I'm very curious as to kind of where they would put them and how that would work. So we'll see. I know right now there's still quite a few other games that have some serious implications, but I honestly have no clue how those rankings are going to work. For conference champions, if North Texas wins, they're 12-1. So I think they're definitely making a case, and Tulane's definitely not a bad team. So it definitely will shake things up a little bit. So I'm curious to see what happens there. Second game we got is the BYU versus Texas Tech game. This is going to be a really, really interesting game in my opinion. Obviously, we've been all over BYU all year. Coach decided to stay, so this team is going to be fired up to play with him. BYU ended up losing this game earlier in the season. This is their one loss, 29-7 earlier in the year to Texas Tech. So that is why Texas Tech is opened as a 12.5-point favorite in this game. Personally, I just like the way BYU has been playing lately. Last 4 games, they've looked really good. I believe the one before that was that loss to Texas Tech on the road. So I believe it's at a neutral field, which will definitely help BYU a little bit, and they're playing a lot better than they were in that game. I think it was just a bit of a one-off. So I think that's kind of why the number is at 12.5, but I do like this BYU team a lot. I think this is going to be a really tight game, and even a game that they can win. If they win this, they'll definitely have a shot in the playoff, and I think they should likely move up into the top 10, somewhere around 8 or 7, personally, in my opinion. I don't think they're getting enough love. They're in the Big 12 now, so they're not in some trash conference. This is a Power 4 conference, and I just don't think BYU's getting enough love yet. So I'm going to take BYU plus 14 in this game. I think it's going to be a close one. Still very well could see a Texas Tech win. And with them only having 1 loss, it'd be interesting to see where Texas Tech would end up, because there's a small chance that they wouldn't drop out of the top 12 with a lot of the teams that are kind of around that marker. So go BYU, go Cougs. Take it on plus 14, and hopefully they can get it done.
Yeah, I think BYU has a good chance to win this game. I love that Kalani Sitake decided to stay. He is a winner. He's been awesome for that program, and it's funny to watch Penn State just kind of combust. So I'm not mad about that either. I think that Texas Tech would definitely stay in the top 12, even with a loss. So I think maybe one of those 2 spots that's up for grabs could be for Texas Tech if BYU finds a way to beat them. They would probably jump into that top 8, and Texas Tech down to maybe that 10, 11, 12 range. Would be up for grabs, though, if you have a Miami, Vandy, Texas all kind of lurking. But I don't think a Texas Tech team that's been top 5 losing, I don't think they should be punished for getting to the championship game if they were to lose. as opposed to letting a 3-loss Texas team or even a Vandy or Miami that didn't make a championship game. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I definitely love BYU to cover 14 points. Again, 29-7 was their one loss of the year at Texas Tech. This one's just down the road for Texas Tech, so it's not a home game technically, but it is still in Texas. But again, Texas Tech has been pretty solid under Morton. The one time he didn't play was against Arizona State when they lost. So with him being healthy, they've been a pretty complete team. But I think BYU should be able to keep it close and give themselves a chance to win the game. I am interested if Chase Roberts, their star receiver, he was out last week. He is expected to play this week. So it'll be interesting to see how he's able to do.
Yeah, for sure. Then we got Georgia-Bama, another fun Georgia-Bama SEC championship game. Once again, really looking forward to this game. These Georgia-Bama games are must-watch TV. Bama has had the edge in the past few years, especially in the regular season. Obviously, Georgia does like to step up when the timing is hot. But I personally like Bama again in this game. I just think that Georgia's defense this year has just been a little bit more hit and miss. Haven't been making as many big plays for that team. And they've had to rely a little bit more on Gunnar Stockton than they should have. So personally, I like Alabama +3 in this game. I think that if Alabama's defense is able to play decent, I think that Ty Simpson will be the better quarterback, and I think that's what this game is going to come down to, is which quarterback is going to have more of a complete game and which team is going to be able to run the ball. And from what I've seen this season, I do like Alabama to win this game. I like them at +3, so I'll stick with it there, but I do think it's worth a sprinkle on the money line.
If Bama loses this and drops to a third loss, do you think they put in a Texas, Vandy, or Miami instead?
I think that's up for debate. The thing about Vandy is they're only 2 losses, I believe, or maybe 3. I would see more of Miami being 2 losses and somehow not getting a bid the ACC championship game. I could see them getting in. I think at 3 losses, you really leave yourself up to debate, and that's kind of what I worry about with Texas, also another SEC team. And then obviously if Bama loses this one, they'll have 3 losses. So I think the 3-loss marker is gonna get a lot of harassment. So I'm very curious to kind of see what they do with these 3-loss teams. I have a feeling that they'll probably leave the majority of them out, and maybe one will sneak in. But once again, we talked about it. It's conference championship game, so does it really count towards that record? The way that it would a regular season game. That's the big question. And how people are going to view it. Obviously, the SEC has been very strong this year, so the scheduling and the strength of schedule has been a lot harder for some of those teams. So yeah, it is very curious. Georgia's obviously going to want to get back. So if they do win that game, that leaves Alabama at 3 losses. I think they're at 10 or 9 right now ranked. So it would be interesting to see how far they might fall and if they'll still make the playoff. But personally, I would probably just leave Bama in there because if you're going to lose to the 4th-ranked team in the nation, and then obviously one of the other losses was losing to Florida State in the first game of the year. So, I mean, I wouldn't say they're bad losses by any means. So it'll be interesting to see what the College Football Playoff Committee does.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it would be interesting. I think they probably would end up dropping out of the top 12 if they lost this game. But they already beat them once. We talked about it earlier in the year. Alabama's beaten them now 10 of the last 11 matchups. So I like Alabama to cover. I'm going to take it at +4. I think this is 2 words, as Charles Barkley says, must-see TV. So, yeah, this is going to be a good game. It's always special. It seems like these two just keep on matching up, but Alabama keeps finding a way to get it done. I think that they need it with season on the line, barring a loss. So I do like Alabama to cover 4 in this game.
Yep. And then we got Duke and Virginia in the ACC championship game. I think this game has the most question marks circled around it because you have 5 ACC teams that are 6-2 in the conference. So I don't know how this game came to be. I've looked on Reddit, I've looked all over the internet, and I still don't understand how Duke managed a way into this game. I really don't. Being 7-5, 6-2 in the conference, I don't know why you wouldn't go to overall record next, and that would put Miami in this game against Virginia. But whatever they did, it seems really funky. But giving Duke a leg in, Virginia is ranked 16, I believe, or something along those lines. I don't think they're the strongest team. And I think that Duke plays well in bigger games. So I like Duke +4 in this game. I think that they have a real shot to win it. I do think that Virginia has been spotty in certain spots this season, but they do have a very good team as well, and they're well coached. So this could be a really tight game. If any team's going to get blown out, it will probably be Duke. But I just, ACC championship game, I just don't see this being a blowout in one way or the other. So hopefully Duke will be able to keep themselves in this game with some solid defense, and we'll see a pretty exciting game.
Yeah, if Virginia wins this, there's no way in my mind that they can't be ahead of Vandy, Texas, and Miami, being a 2-loss conference champion that none of the other 3 teams can say. I also don't think that they're good enough for a 12th seed spot, even at 10-2. I think I'd rather see Miami play. And so it's an interesting one to look at because I do feel like Virginia is probably going to win this game, but I wouldn't be surprised if they won this game and got left out of the playoff anyway, even for the likes of a Miami, which would be insane if they scoot Miami ahead, just being a crystal ball team, Carson Beck being a Georgia guy before. So we'll see how it goes. I think my play is probably going to be Virginia money line, but just because of the hope that they lose so that it becomes clear, I'm going to take Duke +4 as well. But I do think Virginia will probably end up coming away with a win, but I don't think they'll make the playoff.
Yeah, Virginia had a couple really interesting overtime games. I'd love to see an overtime game in this. But yeah, once again, I just don't understand the math or the knowledge or whatever it is for Duke to even get into this game. I don't know why, with 5 teams tied at 6-2, you wouldn't just go to overall record. I never saw anything about it being points scored, points against. I have no clue how the math worked in getting Duke into this game. So I'll probably need to do some more digging and figure that out, or maybe they'll say it when we watch the game. But to me, that made no sense. Then we got the Big Ten championship game. Definitely going to be the most of a banger of any of them. We got Indiana and Ohio State, 1 versus 2. Big Ten has had, I would say, the 3 or 4 best teams in entire college football this year. Oregon right there. And then you've had a couple other teams like USC and Penn State that have kind of been in and out, off and on the rest of the year. USC
And
obviously
Michigan.
lost. Yeah, and Michigan. Yeah, USC having that blemish against Illinois, I think is really going to end up really biting them in the butt, sitting right there at 15. I just don't see a way that they managed to get in with 3 losses. If they were 10-2 and managed to win that game versus Illinois, I would have them in somewhere around the 10 or 11 mark. But the Big Ten's been pretty exciting this year. A lot of teams beating up on each other and in and out of the rankings. So I'm very curious to see where this Indiana and Ohio State game goes. I really couldn't pick a winner because Indiana beat my Ducks and Ohio State beat my Ducks last year. So these are 2 teams that kind of have Oregon's number, and we haven't really seen a whole lot of common opponents for them to see where this game may end up. But I'm expecting it to be a pretty defensive game up until the point that the offenses start to get things figured out, and then it's likely going to be a lot of scoring. So I'm going to no play this one. I'm just really looking forward to watching this game because it's going to tell us a lot about how the playoff rankings are going to shake up, who's going to be 1, and I still think whoever loses this game is still going to be the second ranked team in the nation because they're the only 2 undefeateds left, and they've looked the best out of anybody. So I really would, even after this game, I would love to see these 2 teams match up in the championship game as well. I think these are likely going to be the best 2 teams in college football this year, unless one of them just has a major blunder in the playoff.
Yeah, this will be a really interesting game. I honestly have no idea, so I'm probably going to no play it. My lean originally was going to be Ohio State on the money line, but I'm picturing a little bit more of a high-scoring game, and if it's high-scoring, I would think Indiana is going to be able to put some points on the board, which is going to be hard to imagine against an Ohio State defense that's been shut down all season long. They're going to be able to run it. They got the best wide receiver in all of college football. So Ohio State, I think, on the money line is going to be the safe play. If you're leaning on Indiana, I'd probably go with an over 44.5, just because that means that there's going to be points getting put on the board. And I think Ohio State's going to get probably right around that 20 mark at least. So yeah, really excited to see this game. I think whoever loses is going to end up dropping to 3 or 4. I think it depends on who ends up winning between Georgia and Alabama, because if Georgia wins, I think Georgia will bump all the way up to 2 with a conference championship win over whoever loses this game. And that way there's a chance for a little bit of a different matchup before, again, potential 1-2 matchup of Indiana, Ohio State in the final. Um, yeah, it's gonna be an interesting game. I think this is gonna be really fun to see what Ohio State's defense is made of against a really diverse offense and great coaching. Uh, but also, is Fernando Mendoza going to be able to get it done against Ohio State's defense? And I don't know about that, so I'm gonna take Ohio State money line.
Yeah, and I think we have to mention that this game is going to be won at the line of scrimmage. Whatever
Mhm.
side dominates on the offensive defensive side of the ball at the line of scrimmage, I think is going to be the team that wins this game. So definitely be paying attention to that. Indiana's been great on the O line, D line the entire year, so this will be the toughest test for them. Obviously, they're playing the best defense in the nation, so going to be a really fun game. Looking forward to it. But yeah, that wraps it up for college conference championships for this week or next week, I should say. But then we'll move on to the NFL. Got a lot of exciting games in the NFL again. Thursday night, tomorrow night, probably tonight by the time this video comes out, with Cowboys and the Lions. I'm really looking forward to this game. Cowboys have completely turned around the defense after the trade deadline, managed to get Quinnen Williams, Logan Wilson, and 2 or 3 of their secondary starters back. And it's been a completely different defense. It really feels like it was a mental issue. They decided that enough is enough. We need to start playing as a team and a brotherhood, and it's looked a hell of a lot better. I mean, beating the Chiefs on Thanksgiving was huge for that team. I think that's a big boost. Considering the Chiefs beat the Lions by 2.5 scores, I think that's going to be all the confidence that the Cowboys need, and I still believe that they have the best wide receiver duo in all of NFL football. And the Lions have struggled passing the ball every now and then. So I think as long as the Cowboys can stop that running back duo of the Lions, I don't see a reason that they shouldn't cover 4. So I'll take the Cowboys at +4 in this game. They need to keep winning in order to keep themselves alive in this playoff race. The NFC is, in fact, still looking very good so far this year, especially when you got divisions like the NFC West with the Niners, Seahawks, and Rams all playing very good football. So they got a ways to catch people, but just need to keep winning in order to do so. So I'll take the Cowboys +4 and may even sprinkle a little bit on the money line in this one.
Yeah, the only way for the Cowboys to make the playoffs is to go undefeated, and they'll need either 2 losses from the Niners, the Eagles, or 3 from the Bears. So it'll be interesting to see how that turns out, because right now Bears are the 1 seed at 9-3. They do still play the Packers twice, the Lions once, and the other 2 are pretty cheeks. So we'll see how that goes. Niners have their division, so it's going to be a little bit tougher.
Or if the
So
Packers lost a couple times, I think they would take the head-to-head with the Packers probably because they
yeah,
tied
it's a
that game.
tie.
But
Um,
then points for probably would be the next. The
Yeah, Cowboys
next.
are putting up a lot of points, so
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes. But either way, it starts with the Cowboys cleaning out the rest of the season, which starts with the Lions on Thursday. Another road game, another short week going Thursday to Thursday. But the Lions haven't been too impressive. This is also their season on the line, so I think it's important to bring that up, that they're going to be fighting for their life. 2 of the best running backs in the league. Amon-Ra's questionable. I think he's trying to play. I don't know if he's going to be medically cleared to play after going out last week. So I think that's going to be a big deciding factor in how this game ends up turning out. But I'm going to buy the Cowboys up to 7. I think this game will probably end up within 7 points, no matter which direction it ends. I think Goff has been a lot worse with a beat up offensive line compared to the last couple of years, and his center of Ragnar retiring has been obvious. So with that, I would lean the Cowboys to cover. So I'm going to take them at +7.
Right on. Then we got the Seahawks and the Falcons. Not too much left to say on the Falcons. I called the Jets beating them last week and managed to do so. So I was pretty pumped for that. Definitely sharp on that one. I just think the Falcons are chalked this season. I think that team's pretty much given up. They do play better at home, but with Kirk at quarterback, I have no faith. They just don't seem to be looking quite as fluid and together as a team with Kirk at quarterback. It feels like a lot of the guys have given up. So I'm going to take the Seahawks -3.5. They've been incredible this year. I expect their defense to get, especially their front four, to get after the quarterback, and hopefully Kirk doesn't get hurt, because I love the dude as a person, but I think their team is chalked. So I'll stick with the Seahawks -3.5 in that game.
Yep, I am kind of torn back and forth. I like buying the Seahawks down to 3.5 and taking it right there, because I'm also leaning on the Falcons cover in around 10. I think Drake London's going to be back this week after missing the last few, so they should be able to get the ball moving a little bit downfield. Kirk just had a good game, 19 to 31 with 240, no turnovers last week, even though they lost. and now adding Drake London's going to be a big help for them, especially to open up the field for Bijan. So I think they'll be able to get some points on the board. I don't know if it's going to be enough with how the Seahawks have looked, so I like that -3.
Yeah, and I think it's noteworthy to say Jackson Smith and Jigma had his first off week last week. Didn't have as many touches, but the Seahawks still look great. I expect him to have a huge bounce back in this game. I think the Falcons secondary is one of those that he can really take advantage of with the way he plays. So I would definitely look at a Jackson Smith and Jigba anytime touchdown play or receiving yards over for sure for this week. Then we got the Bengals and the Bills. Joe Burrow, man, the Bengals still have a fighting chance to win that division, believe it or not, with the Ravens losing and the Steelers going down last week. So this is a really interesting game. They're against the Bills in the Bills' house. I think with Joe Burrow back, we can expect a lot of scoring in this game. I expect this to be like a 34-31 type of game. Like, this is going to probably be a banger. And I expect the Bengals to be able to cover 7.5 in this game. We've talked about it all season. I've especially harped on it. The Bills' defense is super inconsistent, and they lose random games that they should not lose. They're still 8-4 somehow. I really don't know how, because obviously of Josh Allen and James Cook and the plays that this team is making. But the receiver core hasn't been all that great this season. Their defense has been very inconsistent this season. And I think with Joe Burrow back, he's one of the few players that can really take advantage of that. So I like the Bengals covering 7.5 a whole lot in this game. And like I said, I believe it to be a high-scoring game. So over 51.5 feels like a lock. Might end up buying it down to 50.5, just depending on how I'm feeling. It could end up being like a 27-24 game. And if that's the case, then I'll probably buy it down to 50.5. But yeah, those two plays feel really good this week.
Yeah, I was right there with you. I think taking the Bengals at plus 7.5 is going to be a good play for the week. They're fighting for a playoff chance. The problem for them is that the Ravens and the Steelers play each other this week, so one of them is going to get that 7th win. It's hard to imagine the Bills losing another one with their wild card spot being real close to the Texans and Chiefs, who are now playing each other as well. So I'm expecting the Bills to find a way to get it done, probably by around 3. I think this is a good game, or could be a lot of scoring. So if you like James Cook to score, Chase Brown and Jamar Chase to score, that could be a good game to take player props. I do like the over in this game, but I do think the Bengals are going to cover 7.5.
Yeah. And then we got the Titans and the Browns, the stinker of the week. Browns are back at home. Myles Garrett is phenomenal. I expect him to give Cam Ward hell in this game. I'm thinking Myles Garrett over 2.5 sacks. Probably can get great plus money on that play. I just think that the Browns defense is going to give the Titans offense hell, and it'll probably be a really low scoring game, like 14-3 or 17-3 is kind of what I'm picturing in my head. Maybe like 20-10, something along those lines. So I would definitely sneak a peek at an under play in this game, depending on where that's at. But I'm going to stick with the Browns on the money line in this game. Shooter's back at home, had a little bit of a struggle last week, and I expect him to look a little bit better against this depleted Titans defense that just traded away a lot of guys. So, yeah, I like the Browns' money line this week. Don't absolutely love it, but I just know their defense is going to show up and play well, and I expect Myles Garrett to get at least 2 sacks.
Yeah, this game's going to be disgusting. The line opened at 40.5. It's now down to 33.5 because it's expecting to be a rainstorm.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch it then.
So 33.5. I don't know about an under. It's hard to hate. These teams suck. I mean, the Titans' best offense has been their special teams and defense, finding ways to get points on the board. So because of that, I like the Browns to win at home. I like them to cover 3 at home. I think that they'll probably end up winning by about 10. But I do think that this is going to be a really ugly game. I could see a 21-9 or 21-13 or 17-13. So I think the -3 is going to be a good play either way. Shedeur should get a second win, which will also be interesting to see if he can top Cam Ward after, Cam was the number 1 pick and he was kind of just left in the dust. So I'm rooting for him. I think the Browns are going to get it done.
Yeah, right on. Then we move on. We got the Commanders and the Vikings. The Commanders played the Broncos super tough. That was one of the best football games I've watched in recent times. Marcus Mariota and Bo Nix, go Ducks. 2 Oregon quarterbacks showing out on Sunday Night Football. It was super fun to watch. Just a great game. The Commanders receivers really stepped up and made it a game. Even with a Broncos defense that had everybody back, they looked really good. And I don't know if JJ McCarthy is back. I know he practiced today, so I'm curious to see whether he's going to play this weekend. But either way, I'm taking the Commanders +4. I think they're going to be the better team this game, and likely might sprinkle a little bit on the money line, including I'm thinking a scary Terry touchdown in this game, a long one from Mariota, whether it be a screen pass where he just manages to break open and get one. But I think the Commanders are going to end up being the better team. I think they actually played a lot better this last week against the Broncos, and that's going to give them a little bit more juice moving forward. That they do have the pieces there. They just need their quarterback back and rebuild a little bit on the defensive side of the ball. So I'll stick with Commanders +4 against the Vikings. I think the Vikings are pretty much chalked. Whoever was at quarterback last week for the Vikings, I mean, he got a wake-up call of the NFL and probably is going to go back to busting some dishes after that. So hopefully the Commanders will be able to cover that 4.
Yeah, Max Brosmer is going to be back to shoveling snow in Minnesota soon. That was disgusting
Yep.
what he did. They actually had a chance to make the game 7-3 in the red zone on 2nd and goal. The live line was Seahawks -140. So whoever took that was living it up because the line was down to 2 at that exact moment, just for him to throw an 84-yard pick six underhanded toss. So that was fun. JJ is expected to be back this week, as is Jaden Daniels, from what I saw. And so with that, Commanders are getting 2. I like buying it to 4, like you said, taking it +4. I think Commanders probably find a way to get this win. I think a lot of people are also going to be on the under after watching both of these teams in the last previous weeks. Obviously, Commanders look pretty solid under Mariota this last week, but the Vikings haven't been able to score a point in a few weeks. So I think with Jaden healthy and JJ being back, both these defenses are pretty bad, surprisingly, this year after having good seasons last year. So I think Jaden's going to be able to use his legs and be the deciding factor that gives them a win or not. But I also think Jettis is due for a huge game, especially after not answering the media for the first time in his career last week. I think he's going to go show out. So this should be a fun one, even though it's probably going to be, not the most tuned into game. But I do like taking the Commanders at +4.
Yeah, and I think it's worth. I didn't know Jaden Daniels was planning on being back this week, but for my pick, I don't even care who's playing at quarterback for the Commanders. I'm just going based on the fact that I think this team is going to be better than the Vikings. I think Mariota looked great, so even if Mariota plays or Jaden Daniels plays, I could really care less. I think the Commanders are going to be the better team here.
Yeah, Mariota did just have 50 on the ground with his legs, even at
Yeah.
34 years old or whatever he's at. So,
and he passed for 295 yards. So, against a great Denver secondary too. So I don't think they really can go wrong either way in that one. It'll be interesting to see where Mariota might land next year too. He might be able to swoop up a starting spot somewhere as well. Then we got the Dolphins and the Jets. A little divisional game there. Jets just got a big win, obviously, last week against the Falcons, and the Dolphins have been a little bit better since the start of the season, but not all that much to write home about. With the Jets being back at home and getting that win last week, I'm actually going to stick with the Jets +4. It just doesn't matter. These wins don't matter for either of these teams now. They're both pretty much done. And who better than the Jets to screw up their draft picks now? I think they'll likely end up winning this game if their defense shows up at all, but I don't think it matters at all. I think they're probably better off just tanking to try and get a better draft pick. But that's the Jets organization in a nutshell. They'll manage to win a few games in the end of the season and probably end up getting like the 6th or 8th draft pick. So all the good players will probably be gone. So I'll take Jets +4.
Yep, I like the Jets +4 also. I think they actually come away with a win here. The Dolphins have been interesting, but I think they also know that the season's probably done. Maybe not quite yet, so we'll see how that plays out. The Jets should just tank at this point, so that's the only thing that scares me. Is I think there's 9 teams, all with 4 wins or less, and I want to say it's 8 of them with 3 or less. So if they win, they're going to be fighting themselves for the draft over the next couple weeks. But I think Aaron Glenn knows that he also could be fired within a season if he doesn't start winning some games. So I think that because of that and what we saw from the Jets last week getting it done against the Falcons, I think even though the Falcons have been ugly, they could be 500 or above, whereas the Dolphins have no chance of that. I think that this is a worse team. So I think the Jets are going to get it done and at least cover 4 at home.
Yeah, and I think it's noteworthy to talk about the fact that the Jets looked a hell of a lot better with Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. So hopefully he'll be able to lead them to a win at home. Then we got the Saints and the Buccaneers. Not too much to say about this. The Saints are pretty damn bad. We called that before the season started, and here it is playing out in front of our eyes. they've got all these quarterbacks and none of them are good. That's kind of what we expected. They have so many good position players around these quarterbacks, and they still can't. I mean, maybe the offensive coordinator just needs to go. But whatever it is, the Saints are terrible. I feel bad for that defense because they get no help. But Bucs, I don't know what the line is. I imagine it's probably around 6 or 7 in this game. I'm going to buy them down to 3.5 just because it's a divisional game. The Buccaneers need this win bad. So I expect them to come out and play really well. They did get Bucky Irving back, and I believe they got 1 or 2 of their wide receivers back. So I do expect the Bucs to come out and play well. I'm not sure if Baker is going to be playing this game. I imagine he is. But yeah, I think the Bucs are going to be the better team here. It's a divisional game, so they definitely need this win to try and get themselves into the playoff picture because the Panthers are giving them a run.
Yeah, Panthers are tied with them right now at 7-6, I believe. Something right there. So they need the win. The Saints have covered in 8 of the last 10 in games of a 7-point line or more against the Falcons. Against the Bucs. So this will be really interesting as an in-division game. But like you said, their defense is statistically one of the worst in the league right now for the Saints, but that's only because they're getting such bad field position over and over and over again. So it's hard to really see what they're made of. So I like the Bucs down to -3 as well. I think that they'll find a way to win it. Honestly, I'm kind of seeing a 1 or 2 point win, so I might even take the money line here for the Bucs, just because it's going to be weird. But Bucky came back; he looks solid. I think he's going to be able to run one in this week. There's questions that Mike Evans might be back this week, as well as Amika, who's been playing, and Baker ended up playing last week. I think he's supposed to play again this week. So the Bucs should find a way to get it done. I think that they should cover 3, and I'll probably take it at 3, but might just throw a money line and throw another pick in there with it.
Yeah, right on. Then we got the Colts and the Jags. Both these teams are right now in the playoff picture. But the Jags looked great against the Chargers, but it's kind of tough to tell, with this Chargers team right now with those 3 offensive linemen that are out. So it's tough to tell if that was just kind of a smokescreen from the Jags. I think the Colts have just been a great team so far this season. They lost a couple really close games, and that's just kind of been the story of what's been happening. I still think they're the more complete team. They definitely struggle when they don't run the ball, but I still see them being able to run the ball in this game. So I'm going to stick with the Colts on the money line in Jacksonville. And I see an under in this game as well. I think an under 48.5 is a pretty solid play. I think both these defenses can step up when going gets tough, and both like to run the ball. So there's a very good chance this clock will run for the majority of the game. So I like the Colts on the money line, and I think the under is definitely something that we should be looking at.
Yeah, really intrigued by this game. I think it was a 48-point line for that over-under, which should be interesting. Daniel Jones is playing on a fractured leg right now, and so that was obviously a problem with the Texans front that's so good as the front 4. Jacksonville also has a really good front 4, so that's going to be an issue for him, I think, going forward. If they're stuck with Anthony Richardson, they're cooked. But if he can find a way to make it through the game by relying on the run game to open up the rest of the field, it's going to take Jonathan Taylor breaking one. So I think him getting in the end zone is going to be a lock for the week. I do think the Colts are going to come away with a win on the road as well. They need it after losing 2 straight, or maybe even 3 straight, but all by, I think, 4 points or less. This is for the division title in theory, at least for now, because the Texans are slowly on the come up. Only 1 game behind both of these teams. But whoever can get to 9 wins is going to have a big advantage, especially if it's Jacksonville, who's already beaten the Chiefs. So we'll see how it plays out. I'm taking the Colts.
Yeah, right on. Then we got the Steelers and the Ravens. Obviously, Steelers, I'm not sure what Aaron Rodgers' status is right now. And the Ravens lost a pretty tough game to the Bengals. So very interested to see where this game lies. It is a divisional matchup, and right now the line's at 7 or 7.5, something along those lines, maybe 6. But I'll buy up to 7.5 for the Steelers. I do think the Steelers need this win. So they'll probably keep it close, but I just think the Ravens are going to end up being the better team. It's tough to kind of predict this game, but I do think the Steelers need a win. Their defense has been oddly terrible the last few weeks. TJ Watt's just been getting locked down. I've been seeing some videos of him just not being able to do his thing, which is kind of crazy. So I'll stick with the Steelers +7. I think they got to get back to some normality. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is playing, but they haven't looked bad with Mason Rudolph. They're just going to have to figure out ways on the offensive side of the ball to move it and keep themselves in this game. I do expect Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry to struggle a little bit more against the Steelers defense. And I expect Mike Tomlin to be able to come up with a good game plan to keep themselves in this game. So I think the Steelers +7 is the way to go. Maybe +7.5.
Yeah, this is an awfully weird line. It's at 6 now for Baltimore. I think it was at 7 to open.
Hmm.
The over-under is only 42.5, which is really strange to me considering the Steelers are one of the worst defenses we've seen this year, and the Ravens were the worst for like the worst 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really interesting. These teams usually do play kind of low scoring, so I'm sure that impacts it. I'm going to take over 42.5. I think that's my best pick for the game. Because I think the Ravens should come away with a win, but it does feel like one of those games that Tomlin finds a way to win. Whether it's defensive turnovers or what, I'm not sure. But I think they were 6-3, and we were talking about how they're the worst 6-3 team I've ever seen in my life, and now they're 6-6. Very unlike Tomlin to watch him drop 4 straight. Now there's news that there's a head coach that's been around for a long time with the same team that wants out. Maybe that's him. Maybe that's John Harbaugh. We'll see. But they're going against each other. So I think Steelers probably find a way to keep it close. I like that +7 play. But I do think with how bad both of these defenses have been for the most part all year, that over 42.5 could be a good play.
Yeah, for sure. Then we got the Broncos and the Raiders. Not too much to say about this game. The first time these two teams played each other was probably one of the worst games of football I've ever watched in my entire life. Broncos did manage to just win the game as they've done all season. I expect them to do the same, so I'll take them at -2.5. I do think they've looked a hell of a lot better, but this time they have no J.K. Dobbins, so it's going to be question marks, and the Raiders obviously know how to play this team as they play them twice every year. So it is a bit of a question mark. I might end up just taking the Broncos on the money line, but I'll stick with them -2.5. It should be a cakewalk for them. It's in Las Vegas, so people are going to think that the Raiders probably have a little bit more of a fighting chance, but that Broncos defense can get after anybody, and they got after Geno the first time, that's for sure, so I expect them to be able to do it again. Raiders O-line is absolutely terrible, and I expect Sean Payton to be able to figure out more ways to get more points, so I'm going to stick with the Broncos on the money line, and I might as well take it at -2.5.
Yeah, I think the Broncos should cover probably 6. So this will be interesting to see how it plays out. The Raiders have been absolutely terrible all year, starting at the offensive line, starting at the defensive line. Honestly, looking at coaching, like Pete Carroll, I can't tell what he's done this year to really motivate people to play. And so I kind of wish he was still retired. This could be the last game if they get smoked for him, where they part ways and just let someone else have 4 or 5 games before the year ends out. I do think the Broncos come away with a big win. I think this is the one I'm going to pair with the Bucs. I think I'll take the Bucs and the Broncos together on the money line. That way I don't really have to take points bought down. I think this will be a good play, probably right around even together.
Yep, I love that. Then we got probably one of my favorite games of the week, battle for the division, the Bears and the Packers.
The Bears.
Yeah, Bears have been incredible so far this season. Ben Johnson's completely turned the organization around. Everybody, it just seems like loves playing for him, and this team that seemed like they were cursed is suddenly reborn from the ashes. Got a ton of free agents in the locker room, and they've kind of figured out their style of football, and it's been working for them. I really enjoy watching Caleb do his thing. He's definitely figured out kind of his lulls from last year. He's been able to turn around, and they have a lot of weapons around him with DeAndre Swift. Adunze has been incredible this year, and I think Cole Kmet is still their tight end, so he's been great. They got a lot of good players on that Bears team, and I think it's just going to come down to which defense steps up more, and I expect that to be the Packers in this game. Micah Parsons has been obviously incredible again this year, but paired together with Quay Walker and some of these other edge rushers and inside linemen, it's just been incredible. Just frees Micah up. So I expect him to have a big game and be able to get to Caleb, or at least force him out of the pocket to make a mistake or two. I think that's going to be the difference in this game. Both the thing that does kind of concern me a little bit is the fact that the Packers have struggled offensively. They are very young on the offense. So we'll see if this Bears team can give them fits. But definitely comparing defenses, I think the Packers will have the edge. And yeah, it's just going to be a question of which one of these offenses makes more mistakes. So I'll stick with the Packers minus 2.5 in this game. I think they are going to end up getting the win in Lambeau. I'd imagine it's going to be really cold, so it'll be interesting to see how both these teams play.
Yeah, my thoughts on this game I think have shifted kind of from what I was originally looking at yesterday or Monday. Um, I think the Packers should come away with a win here, which will put them back in first for the division and theoretically the 1 seed. But I kind of like the Bears getting 7. I think I like buying it right there at 7, maybe 7.5, just because I know the Lions were able to take care of business the last time that they matched up with Jared Goff at quarterback, and that's Jared turning the ball over. Caleb isn't known to throw many picks. Now he might fumble if getting pressured a lot by Micah or Van Ness or Quay, whoever that might be, because that's a great defensive line. But I think that they should be able to at least keep it close. So I would lean on Packers money line, but I think I'm gonna take it at Bears plus 7.
Yeah, right on. Then we got the Rams and the Cardinals, another divisional game that should be pretty fun. I think the Cardinals. I'm the
So
only thing I
bad.
think about the Cardinals right now is how did they manage to beat the Cowboys, and I think that was the game that really just turned the tables for the Cowboys, including with the trade deadline, as they just realized we can't be playing like this, and have been able to turn it around. But yeah, I just can't get that out of my head. No, there's no doubt the Rams are the better team here. Obviously lost a really tough game last week that they shouldn't have. Um, so yeah, I have a few question marks about that defense after that game last week. It just didn't seem like they really showed up or expected that they were going to win, and just didn't come in playing their brand of football. Expect them to turn that around this week in Arizona. I'll buy the line down to 3.5 just because I think the Rams will probably end up winning by 4+. It's just a matter of where it's going to be. It's still a divisional game, so it could end up being a battle. And Jacoby Brissett has his games where he throws for 500 yards, so we'll see if this Rams secondary can step up once again. But we know how good Matt Stafford is. He was due for a game with a couple picks, and there you go. It happened last week. So yeah, I'll stick with the Rams minus 3.5. I don't think that those interceptions and those issues are going to happen again. I expect them to be back in form, and I expect them to win this game handily.
Yeah, I think this is also just a matter of coaching. I think Gannon's been really bad for them all year for the Cardinals, whereas McVay's a phenomenal coach. Coming back back to the West Coast, normal time. I think it's actually going to be an evening game. I expect Matt Stafford to go out and ball, especially after last week having a few turnovers. Ended up having I think 3 on the game as a team, and still had a chance to win it at the end and couldn't get it done. But yeah, it should be a good game because it is a divisional on the road for the Rams. I don't expect it to be a blowout as I could see it, but I don't think that's how it's going to play out. But I do like buying the Rams down. I actually bought it down to 5.5. I think that they still cover 6, but I don't know exactly what that'll look like. So I think 5.5 is a safe play.
Yeah, right on. The last couple, we got the Texans and the Chiefs. Kind of alluded to this one a little bit earlier on in the podcast. This is going to be a banger of a game. Both these teams are on the outside looking in right now in the playoffs, and it's just going to be a matter of which one wants it more. Chiefs are at home, so I'm definitely leaning on the Chiefs money line in this game. I think they need this win and are going to be more apt to winning this game based on the past. But the Texans defense is absolutely incredible. So I'll probably end up sprinkling a little bit on the Chiefs money line and on the Texans +4. I could see this being a game where Mahomes has a vintage drive to set them up in field goal range, and they end up kicking a game-winning field goal with Butker with no time left on the clock. Win by 3 or less. So I could see Texans +4 and Chiefs money line being a pretty solid couple picks for this game. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this game. We'll see kind of what the Texans can do on offense. I think they're likely going to struggle a bit against this defense with the very few weapons that they have. So yeah, very curious to see where this lands. The Texans have won quite a few in a row, and their defense has been, I think, the best or the second best in the NFL this season. So we'll see what happens in this game.
Yeah, and I think Spags is going to be able to cook up another good defensive game plan for CJ Stroud. Obviously, Cowboys were able to get it done, but you had two wide receiver ones that you had to worry about. I think they had like 5 or 6 defensive PI calls in that game because you just can't stop both of them. They don't have the same problem with the Texans. It's just Nico out there, and even Nico is not as good as CD or Pickens. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think the Chiefs are going to get it done, get to 7-6, which will sit right there at 7-6 with the Texans as well. And then if the Jags end up losing to the Colts, they'll only be 1 game back from the 2. So it'll be a wild finish for the season. I mean, same thing if the Bills find a way to lose this week, they'll only be one game up too. So it'll be interesting. I think the Chiefs find a way to get it done. Backs up against the wall. It'll be a lot of slants to Kelsey, I'm guessing. Just slow, quick passes. That way they can beat the pass rush, get the ball out of his hands quick. Maybe Xavier Worthy into the end zone. But I could also see Pat start to use his legs, trying to will his way into the victory, keeping their chances alive. So we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna take the Chiefs on the money line.
Yeah, right on. Then final game, we got the Eagles and the Chargers. This is a super interesting game. Justin Herbert broke his hand in the last game, had surgery, and is expected to play this game somehow, some way. And I expect the Eagles are going to have the game plan on the defensive side of the ball to get after him, because obviously those missing 3 offensive linemen is going to play a huge factor in this Eagles defense. When they dial it up correctly, can really get after the quarterback. So I'm expecting the Eagles to take this one, kind of cement themselves in that NFC East division, and just kind of keep themselves out of reach from the Cowboys. And yeah, with that Chargers O-line just being broken, I see them having a little bit of a tough time offensively, unless somebody just has a breakout game. And the Chargers defense, I don't think is being talked about enough. They have been really good and a little bit inconsistent in some of the other games. But I think that kind of stems from, field position and just this offense having a lot of injuries. So I do think if the Chargers defense can step up, there is a small chance that they can win this game. But I just have no trust in those 3 offensive linemen and their ability to protect Justin Herbert. And if he just broke his hand and is going to be recovered enough to go out there, I just hope he stays healthy, because I still think the Chargers have a very good shot at making the playoffs. But they need Herbert healthy if that's going to happen. So I will stick with the Eagles on the money line in this game, and hopefully the Chargers will still be able to make a playoff run.
Yeah, this is going to be really, really fun. I'm kind of expecting the Eagles to blow them out. I think this is the perfect storm for them, where they're coming off back-to-back losses to the Cowboys blowing it, and then getting kind of beat down by the Bears in Chicago, or in Philly actually. So
Yeah.
that was kind of tough. Now they're going all the way to LA, which is long flight east to west. So uh, they could be a little slow to get going, but it is Monday Night Football, so they're going to have plenty of time. It's going to be evening game, so the time thing shouldn't be too big of a deal for them. I think that their defense is phenomenal. I think their defense could will them to the Super Bowl still at this point, with the weapons that they have on the field. So against a very beat up line, like you talked about, Herbert coming off the hand surgery, and then Omarian's been out for I think 7 weeks now. He's potential to come back, but even if not, Vidal's been doing a pretty solid job stepping up for them. So I think it's going to be the perfect storm for the Eagles to kind of break out and win, and probably win pretty easily. But because of a long flight and just how they've looked, they've been stumbling, and their offensive coordinator's been horrible.
Yeah.
So if there can be a couple turnovers, or a punt return touchdown or something like that for the Chargers, I think they could potentially keep it close. But I'm just going to keep it easy, slice it thin with the Eagles on the money line.
Yeah, right on. That will wrap it up for NFL Week 14 and our CFB Conference Championship game picks. Thank you guys all so much for listening. College football playoff is coming up soon, so we'll try and get out a video once we get more cemented on kind of what the top 12 teams are going to be and what our expectations are. I think that'll be a pretty fun video for you guys to get, and it'll give you a chance to get some picks in before the playoffs start. And then NFL Week 15 next week, we'll be back for that, and we'll continue to just kind of cover the NFL as the regular season goes on. And 5 games left, 4 after this week, so it's coming to a conclusion. We'll see which teams are going to step up. It's going to be pretty fun to see which teams are getting guys back from injuries, and really it's going to be a lot of defenses stepping up and willing these teams to wins with a lot of these injuries. So very curious to see what happens, and the races are on for both the NFC and the AFC. So hopefully it'll be super exciting, and we'll get back to you next week for NFL Week 15, and hopefully for the a little bit more playoff stuff. We might wait an additional week for playoff stuff just so we can make sure the rankings are out. But if not for college football playoff, we'll see you back next week for NFL Week 15. Peace.